All right, we're well underway now with our next round of racing. This is the women's second varsity eight for the second flight of racers. Again, Indiana, Oregon State, Michigan State, Notre Dame, and Ohio State in this race. The Beavers out to another early lead in lane number 2. Everything orange, easy to pick out even from this high height picture from our drone. They're being pushed off to their right by the crew from Indiana in lane number 1. And still in the conversation, it is that crew from Ohio State all the way over in lane number 5. Some good overlap from the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame with the gold boat, gold blades, and just Michigan State starting to drop off the back of the pack.
Hard to tell with this shot exactly where we are on the race course, but based on the time, we are most likely about 700 meters in. But this is the closest race that we've had so far with this configuration of teams where Indiana is really pushing Oregon State right out of the gate. So Oregon State jumping out to an early lead, but now Indiana kind of clawing back, taking a little bit of that Oregon State lead away. So right now, Oregon State with the lead, but only about 2 to 3 seats over Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana maybe just a little bit more effective in translating that high sprint speed off the line into a more sustainable base rate. We have seen Indiana rating a little bit higher than Oregon State, so it might be good just to double check the rates in these eights and to see if that trend is consistent across the bigger boat classes as well. But look at them just starting to really push away from Ohio State. I think Ohio State's going to want to turn things on a little bit sooner because once these eights start to slip away, the margins are much, much more difficult to turn around than what we just saw in the 4s.
I've got I have Indiana clocked at 38 strokes a minute. I've got Oregon State clocked at 37, and then I'll get some rates on Ohio State, Notre Dame, and Michigan State.
Yeah, we do have that open water margin back to the Spartans now. So Notre Dame rowing away and just trying to cling to that overlap between themselves and Ohio State. So Ohio State, I think, is going to be interested in trying to stay in the conversation with our 2 race leaders over on the other side of the race course. But really handy rowing that we're seeing from this 2V from Notre Dame, looking super sharp with those green unis. Just absolutely brilliant representing Notre Dame here at the Big 10 Invite. Perennial contenders here. They've been coming to the regatta basically since its inception, despite not being an actual Big 10 team, still located in the heart of the country and very familiar with a lot of these Big 10 neighbors of theirs. So here we're getting that overhead shot to get a better sense of the margins. That it is still Indiana pushing out against this crew from Oregon State.
Yeah, absolutely. So Indiana having pulled level and now maybe about 1 seat or so ahead of the Beavers. And again, very aggressive stroke rates from both of these crews, about 37 strokes a minute. So almost pacing each other, the Beavers and the Hoosiers. But then you got to take a look at lane 5, Ohio State, because they're just chipping away at both Oregon State and Indiana. I have them clocked at the same stroke rate, 37 for Ohio State. But just take a look at them. You know, they're just kind of creeping up there. They're being patient, just as they have in their other boat classes. So we'll keep an eye on lane 5. And then Ohio State just continuing to move away from Notre Dame and Michigan State. Michigan State back a little bit by open water, just kind of on the outside looking in, doing a fine job, just not quite able to keep pace with these other 4 boats.
Yeah, this nice close-up shot of your Indiana race leader. That shows a crew that's on the attack now. Just looking across, it looks like maybe Oregon State has something to say about that. Just seeing if they can't launch a move here in this third quarter of the race. I think we're quickly approaching or maybe already into that last 500. So if Ohio State wants to mount any kind of a challenge, they are quickly running out of water to do that. The last time we saw that margin, that side-by-side margin, it did look like it was a full boat length for the Buckeyes to overcome in this last 500. That's a big margin, but they've already started to eat into that lead. Look at this overlap. My goodness, if we see them turn this margin around, that would be an exceptional turn from that crew over in lane 5. Every stroke now, it looks like they are making progress. Oregon State and Indiana are going to want to turn eyes over to the other side of the race course because here comes Ohio State, Adrian. Are they going to do this?
Yeah, this could be an epic move right now. 300 meters to go. Can Ohio State do it? They can turn it on. We've seen it happen, and they've got the engine. But I don't know. They might run out of real estate right now between that battle up front between Oregon State and Indiana all the way down to the line. I don't know whether Ohio State's going to be able to do it, but you can see the energy in their bodies. They certainly are trying, but keep your eye on the line all the way down to the line between Indiana and Oregon. It's going to be whose blades are in the water at the right time.
All these crews just fighting desperately for the lead here. Indiana just clawing at the front of the stroke in order to keep their bow ball ahead of Oregon State. They've been trading the lead all the way down the race course. Who's going by Ohio State a little bit too late in the game to get back in the conversation, but it did break them away from Notre Dame. Oh my goodness, that was really a great matchup in these 2Vs against each other over here in lanes number 1 and 2. And unfortunately, Michigan State not invited to the party today, just a little bit off the pace in this women's 2V, but some great racing up at the front of the field.
Great celebration there in that Indiana boat. Congratulations coming from the coxswain to the stroke seat. You can tell that they were very happy about that performance. And just a little bit too late in the Ohio State boat. I think they do. They could mount that attack just a little bit earlier. They would be able to take that. So kind of anyone's game on any day. But look at the margin there between Indiana and Oregon State, just 0.7 of a second. So Indiana taking that win in a time of 6:37.1, followed by Oregon State in a time of 6:37.8. Ohio State in third with a time of 6:41.1. And then Notre Dame in fourth with a time of 6:45.9. Michigan State in fifth with 6:57.8. And again, current and official results will be available at herenow.com.
So that was another great showdown between Indiana and Oregon State. Of course, just one place apart at last year's